Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, why did you join my program and why did you start working with me?
Why did I join the program and why did I start working with Emily? um, I made a big career change in the fall of 2019. I was associate principal flutist of the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra and Pops for 5 years. I had a tenured position in that orchestra, but I had this feeling that I wanted to do more with music. I still wanted to play flute, but I wanted to write country music. I wanted to play guitar and sing and sort of follow different avenues of possibility. So I moved to Nashville. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had this feeling like I wanted to do it all myself. And it was really hard for the first couple of months. I was figuring things out with studio work and subbing with orchestras, but I felt like I was not organized and that I wasn't really making progress toward my goal of, expression and music. I had read in some self-help books about getting a career coach, but I felt some kind of a weird stigma around it. Like, oh, there's, shame surrounding that. Like I shouldn't ask for help, but it was kind of kicking around in the back of my mind. And then in December of 2019, I was having kind of a rough period, feeling a little bit aimless. And I was almost like I was guided to Facebook where I saw an article that Emily had shared about a writer who writes for the Times and different publications, describing what it was like to work with her. And I had known Emily as a friend before, but I didn't know her professionally. And reading this article, it was just like a light bulb went off because I'm into meditation. I'm into sort of Eastern philosophy. I'm also into Western, mindset things about work. And it just seemed like it was totally the right vibe and match for me. So I bit the bullet. I reached out. I asked for help. And we had our 30-minute introductory session. And that was what just sealed the deal for me because it was like instant connection, instant, like, it was like without even being told much about me or my situation, I felt like Emily knew exactly what my areas of weakness were. Now I know it's not weakness, it was just, something to develop. But I was like, this is something I have to do. I felt this really strong pull and it was, the rest is history. It's been great.
Henrik, can you tell us a little bit more about like what specifically you were like struggling with in that sort of darker period, if you don't mind, or what the rock bottom was?
Yeah, I was struggling with, first of all, sort of organization and getting started because I had had such a prescribed career path all through my life with classical music. There was a very clearly delineated next step each part of the way. And then it was sort of like I made this big leap and I was like, okay, here I am in Nashville. And I was like, but how do I do this? Like, what do I do? And instead of starting somewhere, I just felt kind of paralyzed. Like I didn't know where to begin. And then the other sort of side of that, besides sort of getting organized and getting started, was just like unpacking some like limiting beliefs about myself. Like I feel like I had kind of identified with my career as my identity. And it was like, I was like, well, look, here's this job that I have. So like, don't look over here. But then when I took everything away, I had taken the big leap of like, okay, here I'm going into the unknown to like, see what happens. But I didn't necessarily believe that I could do it. Like, or, there was a part of me that didn't believe that. So I feel like there was sort of like the actual nitty gritty getting down to work aspect of it. And then there was like the internal, like, do I have enough self-love to continue on this journey?
What were you hoping to accomplish when we like first set out to work together?
What was I hoping to accomplish when we first started working together? I don't feel like I had an agenda. I didn't really know what it would be like, to be honest. I didn't know what to expect. I was really, I kind of every week turned out to be something different than I had thought. And the sort of personality type I am, I try to just like live in the moment and not look too far ahead besides setting goals. But I was really surprised and happy about how it started, like, as a very personal thing. I mean, by the end, we got to more concrete, like, this is how I'm scheduling my day, but in the beginning it was like, what is your purpose? I was like, oh God, I don't know, but like, we found it within one session. And then it was like building this beautiful framework that I could then start actually doing my work from. But like, looking back, it's like, well, if I didn't have my personal stuff, my values, my purpose, in place, then what's the point of moving forward with my career?
Did you accomplish what you set out to accomplish?
Did I accomplish what I set out to accomplish? Yes, and more. Like, it was really, like, I don't like to throw around the word life-changing, but it truly was life-changing. Like, I feel like, I wouldn't say I'm a different person now at the end, but I would say I'm more me now at the end. And it's like, I had kind of been hoping for like immediate success in my career, like right away, without really having to do much. And now I'm so grateful that I was led to have this experience, because I feel like no matter what happens to me now, I have an understanding of myself, so that's been the big gift of this.
Thinking back on our time together, what was your experience like, if you think about just sort of like the trajectory of the journey while you were in the middle of the program? Like, what was that like for you?
What was the experience like during during the trajectory of the journey? It was really intense, honestly. Like, it's called a 12-week boot camp. It was kind of like a boot camp, like, not that Emily's a drill sergeant, but like, it was like, there was a lot, like, I never journaled before this, but like, even starting from the beginning, now I journal every day. So, that's great. But it really made me go deep into myself. And certain weeks were more intense than others. Like, a week that was really intense for me was like about limiting beliefs, and having to journal about that and kind of like dig out all the stuff at the back of the closet, in terms of like, fears and limiting beliefs I had about myself. It was intense, but then it got more, not fun. It's always been fun, but I feel like it was like, I kind of had to get down to the nitty gritty of things to get to the point where it was like, okay, now we're talking about like, what are my goals for the year? And like, how am I organizing my time? So I think that the trajectory, I would say, was like sort of like a personal awakening in the beginning. And for me, that was emotionally, it was challenging, but like necessary. Moving more toward, by the end, I felt like I was like ready to fly from the nest.
Totally. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about how your life generally has been impacted by the work that you did in the program?
My life has been very impacted by the work that I've done in the program. Well, should I talk about quarantine and stuff, or like what?
You can talk about anything. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
So currently, I'm in quarantine. This is, a period where I'm actually not working. But the great thing about this is that I now have such a structured idea of like what I want to get done and what I need to get done, that actually, where before, if I had been in this period, I think I would have just panicked and probably been like watching Netflix all day and been on my couch. And instead, I'm seeing this as a gift to me, a gift of time, where I am waking up every day and I am basically working all day on different things. I mean, working, including meditating, doing affirmations, visualizations, but also for me as a musician, like structuring my practice time and my writing. And I feel like Emily set in place this sort of motor that now I'm just like able to run on. And I feel like I don't have this sense of hopelessness that was sort of pervading my life even before this, pandemic situation. But now I feel like I wake up every day and I know what I need to do.
How do you feel now versus how, like when you wake up and you think about what you're going to do all day, like how do you feel now versus how did you feel before we started working together?
Well, the boot camp that I did is called Path to Purpose. Oh, the question was, how do I feel now versus how did I feel before? So the boot camp that I did, it was called Path to Purpose. And I feel like everything that I've learned through this actually to me is like something I already knew before, but I forgot sort of. And I had known the direction I wanted to take with my career path, but this boot camp enabled me to like really feel confident about what my purpose is. And so now it's like, before I had this feeling like, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to do. Now I'm like, I really know that this is what I'm supposed to do. And I wake up every day and I'm like excited to get on with my stuff, because I'm like, every step is taking me closer to a life where I'm going to be living my purpose, doing what I want to do. So I think beforehand, there was just a lot of questioning for me. Like every day was kind of this like internal dialogue. And I just was like wondering constantly if I'm doing the right thing. Now I'm like, I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And the phase I'm in right now is just doing it.
Has the program impacted any other areas of your life, relationships, I don't know, other things?
Has this program impacted any other areas of my life? Yes, absolutely. It's impacted every area of my life. Actually, I have made a lot of life changes as a result of this program. Working with Emily, I feel like I have made changes to be healthier. I have gotten closer to my family. I have made better social decisions about where I'm spending my time, and learned about setting boundaries in certain relationships. I feel like I'm in a more empowered place now than I was before. I feel like I, just in different areas of my life, am making choices based on what's best for me, not based on what I think other people want from me. But I don't think I had the strength. I don't think I had like the inner strength to do that before. I was very much like a tree that was kind of just getting like blown which way. And I feel like now I'm a bigger tree, I guess. Like, but yeah, you know, it's like I feel like I know what I'm doing, and it's much easier for me to draw certain lines, make choices. I don't have this kind of wishy-washy attitude that I had before.
Would you recommend working with me to someone else?
Would I recommend working with Emily to someone else? 100%. Absolutely. I think that this, I mean, I've dreamed about a day in the future when I'm, you know, in the financial position to just like give away the gift of, you know, coaching with Emily, because I think that no matter what you're doing, whether you're in a career transition, whether you love your career, whether you are a stay-at-home parent, I mean, this is understanding what your purpose is and kind of building a framework about this is something that I think everyone would benefit from doing in their life. This is just like, and I didn't even know that before I started, but now I'm like, how was I living before this? You know, because now it's almost like I feel like I got the instruction manual to myself. And the cool thing about working with Emily is that you actually end up answering most of the questions for yourself. She guides you, but like all of these revelations I had weren't because she told me like, hey, this is what you should be doing. It was like exercises we did together, questions she asked that often prompted me in a journaling session to then, you know, be crying or have some, you know, some realization, but it's more powerful because I figured it out. So like this instruction manual was something that I almost like uncovered for myself with Emily's guidance, you know, but it's like the teach a man to fish, give a man a fish. Like, I feel like Emily has given me the tools to then like go on through the rest of my life and like solve problems for myself.
I'm gonna start crying. What would you tell someone who is thinking about working with me but isn't quite sure?
I would say to anyone that is not sure about working with Emily or not sure about having a coach in general, like you don't know how great this is going to make your life until you do it. I didn't understand. And I mean, I had read in a lot of different places because I was in a career transition. I had read like, you really should get a career coach. And I had heard it. And like, but I had to experience it for myself to understand. I'm like, this is why people say this is a big deal. It's like, you know, athletes have coaches throughout their lives, like even, you know, professional athletes. It's not like they're like, oh, I don't need a coach anymore. Like the team still has a coach. Like at least once in your life, I feel like you should experience what it's like to like have someone who their job is to be your cheerleader and to like help you be the best version of yourself that you can be. And Emily just happens to be the best cheerleader. So
Can you talk a little bit about, obviously it's an investment, a financial investment to work with any coach, but also with me. Can you talk a little bit about the financial decision to invest, and sort of now looking back on it, like, was the investment worth it?
the financial decision to invest was initially like the biggest thing I was freaking out about, because I really was not in a position where that made a lot of financial sense. But I had this feeling like it was something that I had to do. And I would say absolutely it was a steal, like looking back at what I've gained from that. And it's something where like you have to look at it as an investment, because that's how I feel. It's like, okay, you may put in this investment at this time, but like what you're gaining are skills that you can use for the rest of your life. And it's like, I would absolutely coach with Emily again, and I probably will in the future. I want to do the leadership, boot camp down the road. But even if I never did, I wouldn't necessarily feel like I had to, because I have the tools now. I don't know if that's bad business to say, but I think that it's like, you could think of it as like a one-time investment. It's like if you go to it's like, wouldn't it be great if you could go to the gym for 12 weeks and never have to go again? Like, I mean, I would pay for that. So it's kind of like that,
I love that analogy. I'm going to have to start using that. Is there anything else that you would want to share for somebody who's watching this testimonial?
I would just say to anyone that's watching this testimonial that has questions, like, Emily is not just any coach. Like, it's like Emily is, for me, especially because I have a really strong intuitive sense, I would say the best thing is like she has this extra something where it's like she really knows what's best for you. And in my program specifically, like, I remember what the structure looked like at the beginning, and we ended up swapping out weeks and having different things, because like as we went along, she really will tailor the program to like you and your needs. And it's not even something you have to like talk about. She just kind of knows. It's like this, thing. And I think that I would imagine is what sets her apart from other coaches, because it's so about you, in the sense that like she really gets to know you on a deep level, and her only goal is to have you coming out of this like being the strongest, like most prepared version of yourself to like take on life after the coaching, like, as possible. So I would say that like the personal aspect is what made this like extra meaningful for me. And I would say like at least do a 30-minute session, because like for me, that was what took me from like maybe to like 100%, like like I'm doing this, there's no question. Like I just knew after working together for 30 minutes that like absolutely this was something I had to do. Do not regret it at all.
Thanks, Henrik. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.
Yeah.